Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 68. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you are all well. I can't tell you if I'm well, I'm sure I will be, but I'm recording this ahead of time because, as I mentioned last week, I have been on a I'm about to go on, I will have been on by now, a week-long residential, and then I've been away with my pals this weekend as you listen on the Monday, next weekend for me. So I'm very organised at the minute, which is very exciting and what I'm going to be talking about today. So I hope that you're good. I'm going to start off with a review because I've not done one for a while. And this one is from the lovely Gail, who has been listening to me from right way back near the start. And I was lucky enough to meet her last year because she came for a cold water dip with me. And it was so nice to meet her. Absolutely love meeting my listeners. So she's put, Sophie's podcast is a must listen. She is fun, down to earth, and has great knowledge. I've learnt so many tips from this beauty. Every week she's bringing something new to my life, and I'm forever grateful to this lovely lady. Well, I am forever grateful to you, Gail, and to everybody that listens every week and leaves me reviews. I'm so grateful. So thank you for that lovely review. It's made my day. Well, guys, I am on a fucking roll. I've recorded today my monthly boot recommendation for the pod. For the Vibe Tribe, the last episode that you've already listened to, and now I'm recording this one. Who even is she? What is going on here? Well, let me tell you, it's Sophie 2.0, and this latest software update that I seem to have had has brought me the ability to, still a bit of a struggle, I won't lie, but the ability to get shit done. The lifelong, eternal procrastinator is finally changing her ways, and it feels great. So this week I'm going to talk to you about how to get shit done, which is a skill that I have definitely not mastered yet, but I am making excellent progress, even if I do say so myself. And I have a few tips for you that I would like to share because they've helped me a lot to make that progress. So, as you know, I have been working recently very hard on becoming more consistent to build that trust in myself that I felt like I had been lacking, because I've held this lifelong belief that I'm ditzy and disorganised and late and, a flaky kind of gal. So I'm now actively trying to create evidence for this new version of myself that I am reprogramming my subconscious with, who is capable, who manages her time well, is reliable, and I'm really pleased with how far I've come so far. I think, I might be wrong, but I reckon this might be like the 7th or 8th podcast that I have put on a Monday, which is a fucking miracle, guys. It's a miracle. If you've been following me for a while, you will know this only too well, and long may it continue. So I've decided today to talk about how I have been doing that in the hope that it will help you to move away from that feeling of constant overwhelm that you might be experiencing, because at some point we all do, and spending all of your time working or in a state of like this crippling feeling of procrastination that I often find myself in, where I know that I need to complete this task, but I put it off, and then I can't even relax or enjoy that time that I'm not doing it in because I've got this like black cloud of doom hanging over me. And I'm sure that you're familiar with that, even if you're not as, seasoned procrastinator as I am. So I'm quite experienced in procrastination. I would say if we were doing a pub quiz, that would definitely be my expert topic. And I want to share these few strategies that I've found recently, and I have got 6 of them all together. So my first one is to learn what your procrastination type is, because procrastination can disguise itself in different forms. So you might not even know that what you're doing is just ultimately putting things off, procrastinating, because it might come out in a different way. So I did a whole episode on this ages ago. It was number 25, and I've actually just listened to a little section of it. And in it, this is just a bit of a side note, but I was talking about how excited I was because I'd just reached, or I was about to reach 6,000 downloads. And now, because I've consistently posted them and kept going and not let it get the better of me, this horrible procrastination that I often have, I'm now nearly at 50,000 downloads, which is fucking wild. It's so exciting. So that just goes to show that anybody can succeed and overcome it. And in that episode, it was number 25, and I talked about different types of procrastinators. So, for example, I am a researcher. I spend hours, days, weeks, months, years researching ways to do something that I've got an idea about before taking action. So now that I'm aware of that, I notice more often when I'm starting to do that, and now I can interrupt it and take that action to prevent me from going down that slippery researcher procrastination slide. So as far as I can tell, the main types that it will show up as are as follows. So we've got the researcher, which is like me, someone who spends more time thinking about the best or the most efficient way to do something, but is kind of at risk of never actually starting it because you're doing so much research that you actually never get it done. Another way that it can come out is perfectionism. And I said in that podcast episode, I just heard myself say it, and I think I posted it on my Instagram. I don't know where it came from, but perfectionism is just procrastination in a posh frock. Lots of people identify themselves as being a perfectionist, but it's just putting things off. It's just the same as any other type. It's someone who has done the job or created something or often actually done the work but is never happy with it. And if you are one of those people, you might spend days or weeks, months, years just tweaking and adding and criticising and trying to improve something, and again never actually put it out there. So that's another type. The third one is a busy gal, someone who finds that, or a busy guy, either, busy anything. Someone who feels like there's no time to do anything because they've got this idea in their head that they've got so much on the plate that they don't want to make any more commitments to anything, even though it might logically not make sense that they can't, let's say, like walk for 5 minutes a day, because obviously you can make 5 minutes for anything. But you've got that sense that you are too busy to do anything. And I think that is kind of the feeling of overwhelm. So it might be that if you feel like you're too busy all the time, that you're just overwhelmed and you need to take a step back and address that feeling. And we're going to talk about how to do that today. So once you know what type of procrastinator you are, then you're giving yourself that power, like I said before, to notice it and to cut that procrastination off early before it runs away with you. And then you can come up with strategies to do that and think carefully about how you're going to stop yourself from going down that route. So have a little think about what which category you fit into. There might be another category that I've not thought of, but I think they're the three main types: the researcher, the perfectionist, and the busy gal. So if you want to hear a bit more on that, episode 25, I do talk about procrastination in more detail there. Today I'm going to talk about some strategies to overcome it. So the first one is identification. Which one are you? So my second tip for you is to either get into or stay in your work headspace. So this is really, it could work for anything. It could work for like jobs around the house, but particularly effective I find for if you've got some work to do. Let's say like me, you've got a job and then you've also got like a little business or whatever it is that you do as well as that, and you have some work to do on that, whatever it is. You might be looking to start a new career, or you might be getting a new qualification or something like that. So getting or staying in the work headspace, and the way that I would recommend that you do that is to, if you're working at home, let's think back to when we were doing like lockdown, and I was doing online lessons and things, and people were working from home, and we were spending a whole fucking load of time in our pajamas, and either feeling like you were just constantly stuck to your desk, or that, one second, my mother's ringing me, hang on. Hello, I'm back. She was just seeing if I wanted any tea. Very nice of her. So yeah, when we were in lockdown, we were like kind of stuck at our desks, a lot of us. And what happened was that we were working in our pajamas, or, not getting dressed, not leaving the house much. and not worrying and acting like we were in our workplace. So therefore, we were less productive, I think, in general. Or you might have gone the other way and gone absolutely fucking wild, but let's say that you were feeling like that. So that can happen now if you're working at home on a side project or on your own business or whatever it is. You can often put that off because, or it's really difficult to get done because you feel like you're at home. And you should feel like you're at home. You should have two separate places. But if you want to get some work done, try wearing what you would wear for work, putting shoes on, just little things like that make such a weird and significant difference. Like getting up, getting dressed, getting fully dressed like as if you were going to work, putting your shoes on, sitting down at a desk, and getting yourself into that workspace, like work headspace. Another thing in that one is, if possible, something that's really helped me a lot is utilising like your break, your dinner times at work. So if you are working again on like a side business, or you're trying to start something up and you've got stuff to do, maybe like on a computer I'm talking about here, using some of your work breaks to work on that is a really good idea because you're already in that work headspace. So this is an example that I'll use that's nothing to do with a side business, but something that I was finding difficult to do because it was like a paperwork thing. So I had a pile of like unpaid bills that I just couldn't face because it required me doing boring shit like ringing automated numbers and logging into websites with reference numbers and all that shit, and filling out, forms and things like that. So they were late due to procrastination, not because I didn't actually have the money to pay for them. Thankfully, thank you to the universe, I did have the money for them, but I hadn't done them. And I'd had this letter to tax my car since February. Please don't grass me up. It is now July, and I have been sailing around in an untaxed car. Don't know if that's illegal or just frowned upon, but there we go. So I'd had this letter since February on the windowsill. Did I tax my car in February? Did I fuck? My council tax then came, a council tax bill, and that had been sat there since May, and I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll put it with my car tax bill. Did I pay my council tax? Did I fuck? So then at that point, the point where I felt like I was at risk of being thrown in jail for a short stint, I thought, I'll take them to work because I've been doing some podcast notes at work during my lunch hour instead of always sitting in the staff room and just like drinking a brew. So I took them into work, and on one of my dinner times, I paid them all within 20 minutes on my lunch because I was in the zone. And I cannot tell you how much that helped me to get these particularly dull tasks like that done. So instead of sitting there for a full hour, 5 days a week, if you are working in an office or a workplace where you've got access to a computer, make yourself a brew, go and put your headphones in and just complete one of the things that's on your to-do list that is draining your energy when you're at home and in that like home headspace. So that's my little tip for you. If you're doing it at home and you don't have access to do that in your lunch hour at work, do it as soon as you walk through the door, and then you can actually start relaxing for the evening, and you don't get in your like relaxing clothes and put the telly on with this black cloud thinking, shit, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, I've got to do that. So getting yourself in the work headspace or staying in it. So my third one is scheduling a specific time to complete a task. And that could be a one-off task, or it could be something that you do every week or every month. So most of us do, or at least have been employed by someone at some point. And as employees, we're expected to arrive at our start time, take breaks at specific times, to manage our workload, all of these reasons that I'm trying to escape being employed because it's not the life for me. Get finished by the end of our workday and go home at a specific time. But when we're doing our own stuff and managing our own tasks, whether that be going after a big goal, like working towards setting up your own business, or just something like I was struggling with, like completing these like life admin tasks, like paying bills and shit like that, or anything else that you need to get done, you are relying on yourself and you've not got a boss or someone directing you to do it. So by starting to treat these tasks like you would do at work, it can help you to get it done. And I am in no way a natural planner. But at work, especially when I was a busy teacher and I wasn't in my current role and I had a huge list of things to get through, and that would take me before school and after school and during school, whenever I was feeling that old familiar feeling of that overwhelm and that like cloud of doom from having too many tasks to do and feeling overwhelmed, I would plan out my whole week ahead. And a friend of mine, Val, who I used to teach with when I was at school as a teacher in year 3, would always have these blank weekly timetables, and she still does. I saw one on her desk this week when I covered her, stuck to the corner of her desk when it came to those points in the year, like end of terms, where it can get really hectic and things are changing and you've got a lot of like loose ends to tie up. And when I tell you that is one of the best life hacks I've ever learned, I am not joking. For some reason, perhaps that I'm riddled with ADHD and have a complete inability to see when things are happening unless I see it as a full week picture or even a full month picture. Doing that weekly plan or even a monthly plan helps me so much, and I still use that all the time. So, like, one of those diaries with a page a day doth butter no parsnips for me. Like, it's fucking useless. So what I use is a calendar. So I'll print off a blank calendar and I will create my own like diary from the calendar. So obviously I have a month to view and I have boxes on it that are big enough to write in, and then I use the back of each month as a bit of a like, what are my main tasks that I need to get done this month, and I tick them off. And that really works well for me. So when I'm able to plan out my week ahead or my month ahead, I'm able to balance my workload better because I can see where I can have like focused times and also have rest times like I would do in a working week. So I've taken that tip that I learned from being an employee and I now use it to help me manage my workload in this area of my life, doing my podcast and Vibe Tribe and all of that. So if you decide that at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning you're sitting down to write podcast notes or pay your bills or write a chapter of your book or answer your emails, when a friend rings you on like, let's say Thursday to say, do you want to get a coffee on a Saturday morning? You can say, no, I'm sorry, I can't because I've already scheduled that slot for working. But maybe we could go in after lunch and schedule that time for rest and you know, like that self-care side and balance. So scheduling a specific time to get things done is a very helpful tip, at least for me. Okay, so the next one is asking for help. Now, this one could be like viewed in a few different ways. So asking for help might look like speaking to your boss if you're at work and it's work that's causing you to feel like that, and telling them that you're feeling overwhelmed with your workload and it's too much, and seeing if they can maybe redistribute some of the tasks to other people in your workplace, or even just give you a little break from it so that you can reset and get yourself into a better place. If you are anything like me, when you feel like you've got too much to do and you've got that feeling of overwhelm, you'll just do nothing at all because it feels like a mountain that you can't climb. It's like you're mentally paralysed and you want so badly to get through things, but because there's so much and it's all up in the air and you've got no plan of action, it feels so much like too much, and you can't even start because you've got like you just don't know where to start. So you end up with even more to do and it's mounting up and piling on, and then you feel even worse. It might be that you've got a business that you're working on and you're behind because you're trying to keep your house clean and tidy. So you might have a couple of kids running amok and spoiling it all for you. Could you maybe think about paying somebody to do that task for you, delegating that task? Most of us have got this kind of idea that things like that are unaffordable luxuries, like to have a cleaner once or twice a week, and to not do it ourselves is something that only rich people do. But actually, especially if you are starting a business or you've got something that you do that makes you money, you could probably make 2 or 3 times more the cost of than the cost of a cleaner in that spare time that you're giving yourself. So what I mean is, like, you could be creating whatever it is you create while a cleaner does that and you pay for that service. and you're saving yourself money because you're making more in that time than you would have done if you did it yourself. Same for things like building a website or like mowing the grass. What we think is productive isn't always productive. If you could make 100 a day from working for 6 hours, that it would take you to clean your whole house because you're shit at cleaning and tidying and it's not your thing. You're working outside of your area of expertise. And a cleaner would cost you 30 quid to do the same because they're working efficiently within their area of expertise and charging the cost for it. You're 70 quid worse off if you don't do that. So thinking about what could you outsource that would make sense to make you more successful and feel less overwhelmed. And finally, if you are open to, and I hope that you are open to, ask your spirit team for help. Discovering that I had a whole team of beings who are there solely to help me and guide me and give me assistance has changed my life completely. Like, if I'm knackered and I can't sleep, I will now ask my spirit guides and angels to send me off to sleep peacefully and wake me up early with a lot of focus or a lot of energy or whatever I need to do. If I'm struggling to think of a topic to record on this week, I'll ask for an idea and it will be presented to me in no time at all. So be open to asking for help from other people around you and also from the beings that are constantly floating around you and waiting to help you if you ask them. My next one is, I think I had more than 6. How many have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, I've not. Oh, I've just been talking for ages then, haven't I? I feel like I've told you about 7 already, but never mind. So the next one is to make it into a game, particularly effective if you are in my gang and you do have ADHD, but effective for anyone because we naturally seek out dopamine, and that's why so many people love, scrolling on TikTok or gaming and things like that, because it gives us a hit of dopamine. So think about how you can make something that's maybe a bit dull or a bit challenging into a game. I will thrive when I'm under a bit of pressure and not overwhelm. I don't thrive at all under that, but a bit of pressure, particularly like time pressure. So I'll make things into a game. So for example, if I'm like slobbing around at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I'm lacking the motivation to get ready because I feel a bit tired or a bit lazy, then I will make myself a tiny like step-by-step list of what I need to do to get into my desired state, which is just like dressed and ready to leave the house. And that might sound ridiculous to lots of people, but I'm sure for some of you that will resonate. And I'll just make a list on my like reminders app on my phone, and then I'll like list all the tiny little steps, like set the shower off, brush your teeth while it warms up, wash your hair, rinse your hair, dry your hair, choose your clothes, get dressed, put my hair up, whatever it is. And then I will choose a number of songs, which is like going to challenge me a little bit. So, for example, it might be like three songs, and high vibrational ones that are going to get me up and motivated. And then I'll try and complete those tasks before the last song finishes. I treat myself like I would do one of the kids in my class because my brain responds well to making things into a challenge or a game. My brain especially, but everybody's does. So that brings me on to my final one, which is atomic habits. Now, I have got a borderline obsession with habits this month because I chose atomic habits for my boot recommendation pod in the Vibe Tribe, and in our July workshop we're going to be doing some work around breaking negative habits and building positive ones. So if you would like to hear more on that, come and join us. You can just search for Vibe Tribe with Sophie Waddington. And there is so much to talk about within the subject of habits, so I'm just going to try and pick off a little aspect of it, which is called habit stacking. And habit stacking is where you pair something that you find a bit of a struggle to do. So it could be something like folding and putting away washing, absolute worst, dullest activity in the world for me, or answering emails, or even things like working out or cooking your tea, whatever it is that you put off because you can't be asked because it's boring or unpleasant in some way. Then you can make it more desirable by stacking a more pleasant activity with it, and that's called habit stacking. So for example, I've used this with putting washing away. I truly hate putting washing away. I always have, always will. So I stacked that with listening to podcasts, which I really love doing. So now when I've got a pile of washing to put away, I'm not like, woo, let's go. Like, it's not like a thoroughly exciting job for me, but I dread it much less and I'm much more likely to do it because although I still don't get my kicks from folding t-shirts, I'm distracted by the enjoyable activity of listening to my favourite podcasters, and that kind of takes my mind off it so that I can just do the folding washing on autopilot. So think of a task that you need to do regularly but you dread doing it and you procrastinate on it until it gets out of hand, and stack something that's enjoyable on top of it that you can do at the same time. And that way your subconscious mind will start to make the link between a boring task and an enjoyable activity, and the resistance to doing that task will lessen significantly. So that's it. Just to recap, my 6 tips to get shit done by a seasoned procrastinator who is changing her ways are: identify your procrastination type so that you can recognise and interrupt when you start feeling yourself doing it. Get into or stay in work mode, utilising your work breaks or dressing in a way that makes you feel like you are at work. Schedule in a specific time slot, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, but doing some kind of planning ahead so that you can resist the urge to not bother doing it when the time comes because you've already allocated yourself that slot. Asking for help from employees. You could also ask for help from friends, family, but also, and most importantly, asking for help from your spirit team who are there specifically to do that, to help you. Next one is making it into a game to give yourself a dopamine hit and make it more exciting. And finally, to habit stack by adding something enjoyable onto something that you don't enjoy doing so that you can make those subconscious links and create less resistance to do it. I hope that you found this episode useful. If you did, I would be incredibly grateful if you would leave me a review to help me get this pod out to a wider audience. And if you would like to hear more from me, come and join us in the Vibe Tribe. Have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you all next week. See you later.